dual control deadlock continues. So let's discuss that. We have Haseeb Drabu now joining us, Finance Minister of J&K on the line. Mr. Drabu, good morning. Where are things right now? Because we have the added issue of demonetization also derailing GST. Your thoughts on the issue, sir?
Well, we met over the weekend. I think there are two separate things that are being done. One is the council is discussing in great detail the model GST law. Now that has, it's 27 chapters, some 200 odd sections, 5 schedules. It's going in line by line. And I think we've done 9 chapters. So that there is considerable progress on, if you were to look at it from that perspective. The second issue which you referred to is the cross-empowerment thing, where there has been no consensus across the GST Council. So while the law is being discussed and very specific things are being kind of sorted out, like redefining agriculture, because an entire tax regime is being changed, and I don't think adequate appreciation of that is being shown across the media as well, is that small granular stuff like what defines a state, as in state governments, it has issues on territorial waters, who controls that, issues, as I said, about defining agriculture, what is good consumer supply, all that nitty-gritty is being sorted out. The one issue that's kind of on the side, cross-empowerment, there was discussion again on that, but I think the only issue today is that cross-empowerment, and in terms of, which to my mind, and I've said this before, is really an officer's turf battle. It's neither a legislative matter nor a political issue. In that sense, it's an officer's turf battle. And I think the architectural issue is how do you handle interstate, the IGST, which is getting linked to cross-empowerment. So I think broadly some progress was made, but on the empowerment issue, no headway.
Mr. Drabu, good morning. But is there a threat to the GST rollout deadline of April 1st, 2017?
I don't think there's a threat to GST. There's no deadline on 1st of April. I mean, you have, as per the Constitutional Amendment, September is the deadline, so you still have 5.5 months to go. What seems clear now is that you may not get it through this session of the Parliament.
Okay.
So the current session, which I think lasts till Christmas or whatever, 16, I don't think it's going to get through with that. But then there's a budget session in January, and it's not very difficult to call a 2-day session for this. So I don't think at the moment it would be fair to say that we're missing the 1st April deadline. I think we're still shooting for it.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Drabu, of course, we had the statement from West Bengal saying that because of demonetization now, there's a dual threat. I mean, the state's revenues also now at risk, and that's something that the states are cognizant of. Do you see this also becoming a bit of a niggling worry as we move forward? I
don't think so. To be very honest, I think that demonetization is a completely separate issue. Now, it is getting linked for a political reason, but that's separate. If you were to see it in terms of what it does, yes, there will be a loss of revenue. 1st April onwards, the centre is already committed to a 14% growth rate on revenues. Otherwise, it will be compensated. And it doesn't define that this loss has to be because of because of GST. It's a generic thing that a loss of revenue will be compensated by centre. So one need not worry about that. What is a worry, surely for all states, is between now and March, what happens? If there's a loss of revenue, where does it come from? And I think some discussions have happened on that, and perhaps one could look at increasing the, relaxing the FRBM ceilings of 3% of GDP as borrowings, doing some degree of ad hoc WMA facility for states to help them tide over these 3 months.
How long do you think this issue of, dual control will take to get sorted out? And do you get a sense that no matter how the issue is sorted out, the industry as a whole will be content if they, have one clear authority to deal with as far as assessment scrutiny is concerned?
Well, I think, one of the things that's being missed is that this is a self-assessment model. It's only you're talking of those cases that are picked up for scrutiny, and that's not going to be more than 5%. How that's going to be split as I said, this is really an officer's turf battle, and the states legitimately feel that are they, now going to get the CBEC officials at Tehsil and Taluk levels, and one is kind of trying to see that there's the best of the both in some way work together. I don't think it's such a big issue, but it is certainly becoming. What I think is a bigger issue today, I think two things are, to my mind, are important. One is today the GST Council seems to be losing sight of the larger objective. And for the first time, one is facing this issue. And it's important that to recognize that GST Council is perhaps India's first federal institution in a genuine sense. Now, the union government, if one were to act on party lines, can easily get through this in terms of voting, and 18 states will vote for it, it will go through. But I think the issue is really that being a federal institution, the way you decide today, will set a certain precedent. So you want to build a consensus on issues rather than take a vote. So the council losing the sight of the larger objective, I think, is a bigger problem. Second is how prepared are we on the IT front to take on this thing? Because the information coming while registration from different states is that people are not even able to register in some states. So I think IT needs to be looked at. That's a big risk factor, and the issue that why this whole change was made. So I think that's the bigger issue, not so much these issues of cross-empowerment.
All right, Mr. Drabu, thanks a lot for your time. We hope that these irritants are sorted out. For now.